Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello, my dear learners. I am Dr. Muhammad Tanveer from Institute of Advanced Studies in Education, Jamia Millia Islamia. For this session, our topic is dealing with physically, socially, emotionally and marginalized children in the classroom. In the previous lesson, we learned about social diversities in India and its educational implications. In this lesson, we will be dealing with the special needs of various categories of socially disadvantaged students. We will try to understand their problem, particularly in educational setup, and talk about how can we help them as a teacher to ensure their inclusiveness to come over their problem.
Also, this is part 2 of this lecture. In part 1, we discussed about the social groups, and because the lecture went too long, so I cut it into the 2 parts, and in this part, that is the second part, we will discuss about the special needs of the children with disabilities.
Now, let's discuss the need of differently abled children. In the previous lecture, we have defined and discussed about differently abled children in the previous video which we made. It is very wide area in itself, but here I will describe a few of them in brief. You should keep in mind that you always consult to professionals of this area while working with differently abled children. Here I will discuss some very simple things which may help you in if any of such students comes in your class. So here I will discuss very simple ideas and simple things only, but always remember that in case you should never hesitate in consulting the experts of those area for these problems. Let's first discuss the most visible form of disability, that is the students with locomotor disability. Locomotor problems are related to muscles and joints of the body which affect mobility of limbs and extremities. The student with such impairment may find difficulty in attempting those learning activities which need physical movement. Though they possess learning capabilities similar to the other children, they may have some specific problems in learnings. For example, a student with rigidity in finger muscles may have writing problems. Such a student may also have postural problems, which bring in fatigue and limit their performance in certain learning activities. Such students develop adjustment problem because of non-acceptance or ridiculed by their peer groups. Identification of physical impairment is easier as the disability is usually observable. You can identify physical disability. You can play an important role in helping those students to overcome their physical impairment. Parent support can be sought in this regard. In case of severe disability, the students must be referred to the district rehabilitation center or primary health center, whichever is available. Now, what should you do as a teacher if any person or if any students with physical impairment comes in your class as a student? Here, I mean, what are the strategies of facilitation? According to the type of disability, suitable seating arrangement should be made in the classroom. For example, students with crutches and wheelchairs should be provided a seat on the right front space of the classroom. Do not tell him or her to go to the back. Also, that the movement of the other students is not blocked or hindered. This should also be taken care of. The placement can also provide a space for keeping crutches against the wall. The arrangement should be such that it allow independent movement of the student as far as possible. It has been observed that because of their disability, recreational need of these students are ignored in the school. You should ensure that they get adequate opportunities to participate in physical and recreational activities in the class and in the schools. Other students should be encouraged to join them in such activities. Students with rigidity in limb movement need a lot of practice. For example, while writing, the use of adjustment aids has an impact on the quality of work attempted. Thus, this disability needs to be taken into consideration while grading their papers. If such impairment hamper their education or their ability to work, this difficulty need to be taken into consideration while grading their papers also. If they have difficulty in writing, they may be provided with extra time, and if possible, audio cassettes. If they have a lot more difficulty in writing, they cannot write at all. For example, in history paper where the spelling mistakes are not accounted for, the answers can be recorded on an audio cassette. Wherever available, they may be provided with the facility of a word processor or some of the aid which can ease his or her problem, or his or her which can eliminate his or her challenges. So let's come to the special needs of students with visual impairment. In your class, students, some of the students or any of the students may be of low vision, I mean partially sighted or blind. Individuals are defined as blind if the central visual acuity in the better eye is less than 20/200. Individuals with visual acuity ranging from 20/200 to 20/70 are defined as partially sighted. Now, as a teacher, how will you identify a student who has visual problems, visual challenges, and what will you do for such a student, for those students? A student with visual challenge can be identified by observing their behaviors, like asking other students for help when taking notes from the blackboard. The student may blink frequently, squint eyelid together, bump into the people or object, complain of headache, cover one eye and tilt the head forward, frequent reddening of eyes, hold object including the books close to his eye, observable deformity in the eye, he or she rub his or her eyes frequently, has got the watery eye. If you observe that the child display any of these types of behavior, you may refer him to the PHC, Physical Health Center, hospitals for the eye checkup. Blindness does not result in any intellectual retardation. There are some differences in conceptual development because children with visual impairment rely more on touch to learn about the world. What should you do as a teacher? What are the strategies of facilitation to those students? You as a teacher should pay special attention to the students with the visual challenges. You should allow such a student to sit in the front row so that they can read the blackboard with ease if they are partially sighted, or if they cannot see, then at least they can hear you very clearly. They should be encouraged to glance out of the window now and then while reading from the blackboard. You should write in bold letters which are illegible. You should read aloud when you write on the blackboard. Book with bold letter which are printed with more than 14 point font size or more should be available in the library to cater to the need of these students. The district rehabilitation center and hospitals may be approached for hand lens, magnifying glass, etc. for students whose disability is beyond the spectacle lens. So as a teacher, you can do and arrange these things. In order to reduce the reading load on the students with the visual challenges, visual problems, you can train them in listening skills. They may be provided audio cassettes and audio tapes recorder, come radio, and encouraged to learn from audio mediums and tactile mediums. Audio cassettes will be very useful for such students. Institutions such as the State Institute of Education Technology, State Institute of Education, State Council of Educational Research and Training, and the Central Institute of Educational Technology, etc. They can be approached for audio cassettes in different curriculum areas. Also, audio books are nowadays very much common. If you can arrange audio books for them, and if audio books are not available, you can there are many text to speech programs which can be used to read them out content material. The teacher should not accept different standard of behavior from these children. They should be expected to clean up the work area just like the other children. When they acquire mobility, they should be sent on errand like their peers. Remind them gently to correct mannerism as soon as you notice any abnormality in their behavior. Provide them opportunity for participation in the physical education programs also. A book stand or anything which is necessary for them should be arranged for the partially sighted children or any children with the visual challenges or any other challenges also. Now let's come to the students with hearing and speech impairment. We know that listening plays a significant role in the academic communication and learning. Hearing problems or auditory problems interfere with learning and performance. Auditory problems may also cause speech problems. It is therefore desirable to identify such a student and take steps to meet their educational need. The level of hearing is measured by audiometers in terms of decibels, in unit of decibels. Mild loss is within the range of 20 to 30 decibel. If it is the loss within the range of 20 to 30 decibel, it is regarded as mild loss, while the marginal is in the range of 30 to 40 decibel, moderate is in the range of 40 to 60 decibel, severe is in the range of 60 to 75 decibel, and profound loss is above 75 decibels. So, some students have mild hearing loss. Some may develop the impairment during school years and go undetected. Normally, students with normally students with severe and profound hearing loss from birth do not develop speech unless their speech is developed through speech therapy. Students with hearing problems can be easily identified by their observable behaviors also. For example, they display speech difficulty, frequent request teachers to repeat the directions and questions. They have observable deformity in the ear, maybe frequently discharge from the ear, complain of pain in the ear, frequently scratches, frequently make many errors in taking dictations, turn head one side to hear better while listening to the teacher, watches his face carefully. So these are some signs or some observable behaviors by which you can identify that these students may have auditory challenges or hearing impairment. So the student displaying any of these behavior should be referred to for medical checkup. Now, what should you do as a teacher, as a regular teacher, not as a special educator? As a regular teacher, what should you do? What are the strategies or facilitations to those students? Students with hearing problems should be asked to sit near the teacher to improve listening. You should use a reasonable level of pitch in voice while speaking. Avoid mumbling or speaking too fast. Avoid these things because such students may be hard in hearing and rely on your lip reading. While reading from the textbook, your lip should be visible to the students so that they are able to supplement listening by the lip reading. Similarly, while speaking or writing on the blackboard, you should face to the student. Do not put your back towards them. You should face those students even while you are writing on the blackboard. Peer may be encouraged to interact with these students and help them in learning. In three-dimensional model of teaching aid, there may be used supplement general teaching points. In case students are using hearing aids, so such students should be persuaded to use these hearing aids all the time as well as at home so that they do not miss the instructions. A speech defect arise out of hearing problem can be corrected through speech training, usually reinforced drill and practice method. If speech disorder is due to an organic defect in the speech mechanism, medical help is surely required. Students with now let's discuss about students with low mental ability. The performance of students with low mental ability is less than the performance of the normal students. It's obvious. They may not have any physical problem, but they are poorly adjusted in the classroom. What are those problems or what are those behaviors which such students with the low mental ability show? Is like they avoid active participation in the classroom activity. They display fear of failure, display poor academic achievement, forget what he or she has learned after a very short period of time, has difficulty in doing things for himself like eating, dressing, bathing and grooming, has very poor muscular coordination, has poor self-image, has a problem in following what he has been told. He may be having or he or she may be having restricted communication and he or she may be inattentive and distracted a lot. They may lack self-confidence, they may learn at very slow pace, seek immediate reward and seek more repetition and practice as compared to the other students. Such a student may show too much dependence on concrete examples and they may show reliance on presentation of concrete objects. Now, if you have got any students with a few of those symptoms or few of those observable behavior, you can at least assume that maybe this person or this student is suffering or is of low mental ability. But now, what should you do as a teacher? What should you do as you have to provide concrete experience to such students. They require repetition and more practice than the normal students. Learning tasks should be presented in small steps. Their attention is to be drawn to important point of the learning task. Simple questions may be asked to give them a feeling of success. It is very necessary to give them a feeling of achievement, a feeling of success. Immediate feedback or reward should be the watchword for such students. These students need training in communication skills also. You should plan learning activities in a way that these students participate along with their peer group. The curriculum has to be transacted through simple and interesting learning experiences. Special effort have to be made to help such a student to absorb as much as they can. As they have a short span of attention, activities have to be varied in order to sustain their attention. So these are some of the to-dos which you can do as a teacher to help them, such students. Now let's discuss another category of child with some challenges, and that is academically challenged learner. Who are they? These are those individuals who have difficulties remaining in the mainstream unless the curriculum and pedagogy is modified for them. So academically challenged learners may come under the three broad categories: students having learning disabilities, the slow learners, and the underachievers. So these three categories are main in academically challenged learner. Now let's discuss about education of students with learning disability. The first question is, what is learning disability? In the early 1960s, parents and professionals advocated a new category of special education, learning disabilities, to describe individuals who, in spite of normal or near normal intelligence, have a puzzling array of learning problems. What prompted the creation of this area was the realization that many children with learning problems were not receiving the needed educational services. The three most common factors in the definition of learning disabilities are IQ achievement discrepancy, presumption of central nervous system dysfunction, psychological processing problems. Psychological processing problems not due to environmental disadvantage, mental retardation, or emotional disturbance. Now, these are the three criteria on the basis of which learning disabilities are defined as a category. Learning disabilities is a general term actually that refer to a heterogeneous group of disorders manifested by significant difficulties in the acquisition and use of listening, speaking, reading, writing, reasoning, or mathematics abilities. These disorders are intrinsic to the individual, presumed to be due to central nervous system dysfunction, and may occur across lifespan. Causal factors for learning disabilities fall into organic and biological, genetic factor, and environment related categories. More and more evidences are accumulating that many persons with learning disabilities have central nervous system dysfunctions. Also, evidence is occurring that some cases of learning disabilities are attributable to the genetic factors. Environmental causes have been more difficult to pinpoint, although some professional believes that poor teaching can lead to learning disabilities. Curriculum-based assessment and authentic assessment methods such as portfolios, evaluation students' critical thinking, evaluation of students' critical thinking and problem-solving abilities in real-life situations often help in identification of learning disabilities. Learning disability is one of the major concerns with which the teacher like you or me in normal classes often faces in the school. It is a disorder that affects a broad range of academic and functional skills, including the ability to speak, listen, read, write, spell, reason, organize information, etc., etc. It is not included in the PWD Act 1995. It is, but in 2016, it have been well included. It is a common found problem in school children. The specific, and it is a heterogeneous group. It was told before, it is a heterogeneous group, and the specific type of learning disabilities. Let me count it one by one. That is, number one is known as reading disability, which is also known as dyslexia. It is a disability that affects any part of the reading process, including difficulty in accurate and or fluent word recognition, word decoding, reading rate, prosody, oral reading with expressions, and reading comprehension. So these areas may get challenged. The second one is writing disability, which is also known as dysphasia or aphasia. Here the child has impaired written language ability. It may include impairment in handwriting, spelling, organization of ideas and composition. The next category comes as dysgraphia, which refer to the difficulties in or difficulties with handwriting, very poor or unreadable handwriting. The next category may be known as mathematics disability, which is also called dyscalculia. The child has difficulties as learning maths concepts like quantity, place value and time, difficulty of memorizing maths and doing mathematics, facts and difficulty of organizing numbers. These also are the problem associated with this disability. The next one, which may be which is called dyspraxia, refers to a variety of difficulties with motor skills. They have problem in, like in day-to-day life, they may have problem in combing hair, say waving goodbye, brushing teeth or getting dressed. You can assume that how much such problems may hinder the education of a child in a school, like in lab. Now, the non-verbal learning disability often manifests in motor clumsiness, poor visual spatial skills, problematic social relationship, difficulty with mathematics and poor organization skills. These are very well defined specialized category which often requires experts to tackle these problems. But if such child who has been identified with such problem by suitable medical experts, and if such child come to your class, if such child is in your class, then you as a normal teacher, obviously you have not been trained as a special educator, but as a normal teacher, what can you do for those children to include or to make your environment inclusive for them? I mean, what should be the strategies of facilitation? Actually, this field, or because it is a very heterogeneous group, so it requires a very long discussions on particular strategies. I'm summing it up with like such students, you should need help in a specific area, and you should provide a specific help in those areas of disability, such as reading, mathematics or writing, or whatever the problem he or she is suffering with. Maybe you can say, you should adopt suitable teaching strategy to support their learning. You should not criticize the students unnecessarily, because it is not their fault. It is not their fault. It is the disability, or it is the problem with them. That's why you may have some. You may feel that the child is not doing as you like. The corrective feedback is most important at this stage. You may have seen a very famous movie like Tare Zameen Par, in which these problems have been highlighted, and you may learn many of your strategy or many good things from those movies. Now, the specific idea or the specific facilitation strategies will be discussed in some other video in detail. Now let's shift to another category of students, which are slow learner students. As the name implicit, that a slow learner is an individual whose mental ability is high enough to justify keeping him in a regular classroom, but low enough at the same time, low enough to give him a considerable difficulty in keeping up with the average speed of the class. His or her IQ range fall in the category maybe 70 to 90 range, making him a borderline case. He is not, he is in a borderline. He have some problems, he have challenges which make him a slow learner. How can you identify, for your own purpose, not to label, just to provide him help or to facilitate his learning? How can you identify those children? Actually, slow learner, because of their mental slowness, either ask too many questions or withdraw completely from the academic activity. Such a student will ask a lot of questions, a lot of trivial questions, maybe some stupid questions. They will ask a lot of questions. I mean, such questions which are supposed to be understood. So they will ask those things. They also become social isolates as their peers find them dull and boring. Slow learners, research has indicated that these children are slow in practically almost all aspects of development. They verbalize information in a very diffused manner, have poor coordination, and get poor grades in academics. They tend to lack self-reliance, and their physical and social development is also inferior to that of their peer in terms of the development. They are not so well developed as age appropriately developed, you can say. So what are the strategies of facilitation of those students? The first of all, the attitudinal acceptance of the teacher is a must. The teacher must realize that this mental insufficiency is not his or her fault. Similarly, many of the problems that he manifests behaviorally result from his compensation for his disability. Development of an IEP, individualized educational programs, for the individual based upon complete information gathered by the teacher is warranted. In fact, mainstreaming or integration of the individual in all other activities except academic activities is found to be very beneficial for those children. It gives them a lot of confidence. The slow learner has difficulty in generalizing and transferring information from one lesson to another. Thus, if task analysis is used, the subject matter to be learned is broken down into small units and presented sequentially. It facilitates learning. So, task analysis may be one of the strategy for those people, for those students. Furthermore, the individual mental age rather than his IQ should be used to plan a special curriculum for him or her. The mental age, not the chronological age, rather mental age allows us to know the age level at which the individual is operating intellectually. So if we plan the special curriculum for him or her as per his mental age, he or she is supposed to follow it well. The teacher should also help the individual's peer to accept him. Together, they have to learn to lay emphasis on what the individual can do and not upon what he cannot do. Emphasize what he or she can do. Use of criterion referenced evaluation coupled with innovative teaching methodology keep the children motivated and eager to learn. Provisions of remedial teaching or special coaching to the slow learner help him to a very great extent, to a great deal, that is for them. Now let's discuss another category of students which are actually academically challenged, you can say. They are underachiever students. They are not slow learner, they do not have any learning disability, but they are underachiever students. What constitutes underachievement? Broadly speaking, underachievement is defined as a large discrepancy between the child's performance in academics at school and his innate ability. When a child with a high IQ level is performing poorly, he or she is said to be an underachiever. Similarly, a student who is average intellectually but whose performance is below average is also said to be an underachiever. So the simple equation of underachievement is that ability is always higher than the performance, or in other form you can say that performance is always lower than the ability. Research studies and teachers' observations indicate that underachievers lack clear goals and values. They lack motivation. They are uninterested in work, have poor study habits, lack concentration, tends to daydream too much, fail to complete assignments in time, and are unable to have consistent and dependable interpersonal relationship, and may compensate for their inadequacy by being aggressive or timid. So these are some of the characteristics or some of the cues you can get from underachievers. Now, what are the strategies for facilitation of those students? It is usually seen that an emotional reason underlies underachievement. There is always an hidden emotional reason for the lack of his performance. Thus, such an individual needs love, patience, and care. As we have seen, we discussed before, that these students do not lack in IQ. These students do not have any learning disability. It's simply that their performance is always lower than their ability. So, and most of the studies conclude that there is some emotional baggage, there is some emotional reason which underlies this his or her underachievement. A healthy and conducive classroom atmosphere should be created, and which does not impose on or make excessive demand on the students. Such healthy and conducive classroom atmosphere will help him or her a lot. Such classroom should give him freedom to explore and a space to grow and develop into a fully functioning individual, so that he can realize his or her own potential. Cognitive restructuring strategies can also be used successfully with these students, like count your blessings, thought stopping, negotiations, etc. These are sometimes very much helpful to those students. Now let's discuss a very different kind of students, those students who have emotional disturbances and behavioral disorder. These individuals have a special learning need in areas requiring the functional use of social and emotional skills. Behavior disorder, for the behavior disorder, actually behavior become a problem when it deviates greatly from what is appropriate for the child's age group. The behavior should deviate greatly, and deviation must be more than a temporary response to the stressful event. It should not be a temporary response. It must be consistent across time and in different situations. A student with emotional and behavioral disorder can be among the most difficult student to teach in a regular class because of his or her disruptions. Children who have conduct disorder are very much aggressive, destructive, disobedient, uncooperative, disruptive, and persistent. They have been corrected and punished multiple times for the same behavior, but they don't leave it. They do it again and again. Many of these children are disliked by the adult and even older children in their life. Such students need very clear and consistently enforced rule and consequences, so that they do not take advantage of the loose words or the or inconsistencies in enforcement of the rules. The children who are extremely anxious, filled with anxiety, withdrawn, shy, depressed, and hypersensitive, who cry very easily and have very little confidence, may have anxiety withdrawal disorder. Attentional problem immaturity characteristics include a very short attention span, frequent daydreaming, very little initiative, messiness, and poor coordination. This is also a type of disorder which is known as attentional problem immaturity disorder. There is another category of students unfortunately you may have in your class is socialized aggression disorder. Students with socialized aggression disorder. Students in this group are often the member of gangs. They may steal, they may vandalize the school property because of their peer culture expectation, because their friends expect, or their friends' culture is such type. Those students are also very difficult to handle. So, but you have to handle those, and again, as a teacher, you should not, while dealing with those students, you should not just go again and again to the principal or headmaster or for all those problems. It's you who need to tackle those problems, and when something goes beyond your capacity, then only you should ask help from others. So this is, I think, enough for the today's session. In the session, actually, we have what we have discussed is all the type of social categories, social groups, and their special needs, and how as a teacher you can facilitate learning of those children from those groups, as well as we have covered special children with a special need who are suffering with some impairment, who may be suffering with behavioral disorder or learning disabilities or any other type of disability. Also, we learn that not as an special educator, but as a regular class teacher, as a regular teacher, how can you help them, those students, through very very small but very effective ways. How can you improve their confidence? How can you improve their ownness? How can you improve your inclusiveness of your school environment? And how can you own those children? With all these discussions, there are in the last, as usual, we have some questions in the next slide for you. You should try those questions, attempt those questions at your own pace. Also, some references for some books are given. If you want to study further, you may go to that references, or a lot of materials are also available. Actually, the special education is a separate discipline in itself, multidisciplinary, but it's a separate discipline. Separate courses are there for tackling those special children's. Thank you for your participation. Thanks a lot.